The Labor leadership ballot is set for Monday. After months of damaging destabilisation, Julia Gillard has thrown down the gauntlet to the man she'd opposed, Kevin Rudd. The Prime Minister is confident she has enough support to crush her rival and ensure he does not rise a third time. He's on a plane home to Australia. The campaign is off and running and long-held grudges are filling the airwaves. Political editor Heather Hewitt reports.
The gloves are finally off, and even though Kevin Rudd is yet to officially declare himself a leadership candidate, the sales pitches have begun.
I have formed this view that we need a leadership ballot in order to settle this question once and for all.
Overnight, I've had many conversations with caucus colleagues and with ministerial colleagues. I'm very pleased by and encouraged by the amount of positive support and encouragement of me to contest the leadership of the Australian Labor Party.
If, against my expectation, I do not receive the support of my colleagues, then I will go to the backbench and I will renounce any further ambition for the Labor leadership. This would be in the best interests of the government and the nation. I anticipate that Mr Rudd will also be a candidate in this ballot. I ask him to give the same undertaking.
They regard me as the best prospect to lead the Australian Labor Party successfully to the next elections, to save the Australian Labor Party at those elections, and to save the country from the ravages of an Abbott government.
I want to be clear about this too. I believe that we can win the next election and defeat Tony Abbott. I believe I can lead Labor to that victory, provided that the Labor Party unites and we get on with the job.
The future government of Australia is not about the power of factions, it's about people's power. And the people of Australia have a view on the future leadership of their country. I would urge each and every one of them to make that view known across the country. Pick up the phone, talk to MPs, talk to your media outlets, express your view. Ours is a democracy in the open spaces, not behind closed doors and not governed by faceless men. Another question, yeah.
Since so-called faceless men have been running a leadership campaign for Kevin Rudd for months, and just about everyone in Parliament House knows it, that line was raising more than a few eyebrows today.
All the best, folks. Bye.
And at this point, Kevin Rudd's call for people power looks about the only chance he has of getting anywhere near close to winning a leadership ballot. The majority of his caucus colleagues remain firmly behind the Prime Minister. So the people power theme has been taken up by Kevin Rudd's wife as well.
What ordinary people tell me is that they trust Kevin and they respect him. They know how hard he worked after 2007 election and in the lead up to that. And I think it's useful for people to tell their local MP, if that's a Labor MP, and to tell their local Labor senator, look, this is what I want.
This is now open warfare, and it's not a pretty sight. What's clear is that Julia Gillard and many of her ministers now feel liberated to tell it how they see it. Their story of life under Kevin Rudd as Prime Minister and why they got rid of him.
Kevin Rudd, as Prime Minister, always had very difficult and very chaotic work patterns. In my view, Kevin Rudd is an excellent campaigner, and he was an excellent campaigner in 2007. But government requires different skills. Government requires consistency, purpose, method, discipline, inclusion, consultation. It requires you to lead a big team and to lead it well. Kevin Rudd, as Prime Minister, struggled to do that, and by the days of 2010, that struggle had resulted in paralysis in the government.
And there was more.
Well, the 2010 election was sabotage. We were in a winning position in that campaign until the sabotage that knocked that campaign very, very solidly. Now, I had to come out, actually it was here in Adelaide is my recollection, and deal with that sabotage of the campaign and get the campaign back up and going.
In a carefully orchestrated media blitz, senior ministers lined up to back her and accused Kevin Rudd of relentless destabilisation from the moment he lost the leadership.
During the election campaign, it was absolutely clear, every Australian remembers that farcical first 2 weeks as Julia Gillard was undermined by leak after leak after leak. From the press club with Laurie Oakes, we had leaks going on.
Kevin talks about stealth. I mean, this has been a covert operation, and he's up there operating the drone 24 hours a day because he never sleeps. He's always manipulating something. I mean, this is a campaign that has been relentless. It's had an impact.
There's no doubt that Kevin has been engaging in undermining of the government for more than a year now.
I think we need to get out of this idea that Kevin is a messiah who will deliver an election back to us. That is just, I think, fanciful.
Kevin Rudd talks about a wave of destabilisation and undermining of him. Really, he should just look in the mirror.
The word was filtering back to Kevin Rudd in Washington, D.C.
I've frankly been shocked and disappointed by the tone and content of the intensely personal attacks which have been lodged against me overnight in Australia. Whatever our differences in politics, I do not believe that these sorts of vicious personal attacks have a place in our national political life.
Before flying out, he urged his supporters not to retaliate. But by late morning, the penny had dropped. They needed to get out there and say something or be totally outmanoeuvred. Manufacturing Minister Kim Carr was the first to adopt the high moral ground.
And the types of campaign stratagems we've seen overnight and this morning are truly appalling. We simply can't have a situation where we are seeking to destroy each other in such personal ways.
I don't think it's good for the Labor brand or for the respect for Labor traditions to be trashing people's reputations.
My simple message to some of my colleagues given statements over the last week to fortnight is that you better be very careful what you say publicly. We should not be seeking to assassinate one another or reflect on the strengths and weaknesses of one another.
These ministers from different factions, along with the Emergency Management Minister, Robert McClelland, have finally stepped out of the shadows as Rudd backers. But the bulk of the ministry is behind Julia Gillard. For the bewildered Australian electorate, get ready for an onslaught of public utterances from both camps in the lead-up to Monday's ballot, especially when Kevin Rudd lands home tomorrow.
I do not believe that Prime Minister Gillard can lead the Australian Labor Party to success in the next election. That is a deep belief.
I'm under no illusions about the degree of political difficulty the government confronts. I'm also under no illusions why we have those political difficulties.
Thank you. Julia Gillard wants to see her predecessor finished off once and for all on Monday. But what's not clear yet is whether Kevin Rudd is prepared to make a second strike down the track.